Great. A lot of energy. I can feel it. Okay, what do we got? What do you want to talk about today? Anything in particular? I think we talk about some football today instead of hurricanes and things like that.
Just real quick, for injuries, Chris Hilton, do you still expect him to return? And Zy Alexander, what's his status?
Zy is questionable. He's going through the protocol, so it's hard to take him out of that protocol until we get through it. But he's making progress through it, so we'll leave him as questionable. Chris is probable, but again, we're bringing him back from a long layoff, so I think we just see how he goes when we get out there on Saturday.
And it seemed like in the second half last weekend against UCLA, Caleb Jackson started maybe to show some things. Just where do you think he's at right now, and what do you kind of expect from him moving forward?
Yeah, again, this is about the nuances of the position in terms of reading things and hitting daylight. Look, I don't play running back, okay? I can teach schemes, but when it comes to the running back position, there's a natural instinct that position requires that you can't really coach. And so some of that just takes time. And so, as quickly as we want to move him through the process, sometimes it just takes some time and seeing things and feeling comfortable with it. Look, he works so hard, he puts in the time, but it is a matter of just letting him grow with what he's doing on a day-to-day basis. And we did see some pretty good progress in the second half.
Hey, Coach Ray up front. Just full week now with the defense, obviously moving forward without Harold. Just how do you think those guys have responded and just how they looked, I guess, without having to move forward without Perkins?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's what I talked about earlier in the week. We made some, slight changes. We activated Xavier Atkins in the second group, but, we've got Wes Weeks back, so we feel really good about the linebacker rotation. If we need to play 3 linebackers, we certainly can do that. If we play 2 with a nickel, we can do that. So, we feel really good. I thought we had a really good week of practice. Our guys will play well. Again, we feel terrible about Harold, but I think our guys have moved on and had a good week of practice.
Okay. So how important is it for the team to start fast this weekend, especially when you have a guy like Fluff Bothwell on the other side?
Yeah, I mean, South Alabama is a good football team, and we're aware of that. Our players are. They've watched film. They've seen, how exciting of an offense that they have. I mean, they put a lot of points up against Appalachian State team that last year beat Oklahoma State at home handedly. So our team has a great deal of respect for South Alabama. So each and every week it's been important for us to get off to a good start. I thought we came out with a good first drive last week, and again, that will be a point of emphasis as it is each and every week, is to start fast.
Just curious if there's anything to the kind of a theory of mine. Does Harold, because he was so versatile, do you have to now kind of guard against predictability when you go back and forth between 4-3, 4-2-5, because players may not be able to do quite as much as what he did at once?
Well, when you have an athlete like Whit Weeks, you have a very similar player in terms of his athletic ability, in terms of playing in space. Now, I'm not here to say that Whit Weeks is Harold Perkins in terms of pass rush ability, but in space, he is his equal in terms of the ability to play in space, play fast. So the versatility that we have because of a guy like Whit doesn't hamstring us to the point where, okay, now we've got, 3 plotting linebackers on the field. We feel really comfortable that if we have to go to that type of configuration, we feel like we've got 3 guys that can play and not be mismatched.
Hey, Coach. With Dominic McKinley, how has he improved since he first arrived on campus? Was it this past preseason? Yeah.
Well, there's so many layers to that improvement, as you know. I mean, I think the first thing is, just the transition, from high school to college is pretty big. And I think we've talked about this many times. Some handle it better than others relative to the mental versus the physical, because, I mean, he'd walk in here and you go, okay, well, physically he looks like any better than anybody on our team. But, you know, there's going to class and managing the day-to-day and getting up early and being on your own. And, you know, that wears on guys. I think learning the techniques, you know, and you know, I would say that the biggest hurdle for him was he got injured. And then understanding how to take care of yourself and work your way through an injury and being hurt. And there is a difference between being hurt and being injured. You know, we're not going to put somebody out there that's injured. But we are going to have some guys that are hurt. And hurt means you're not 100%. And sometimes it's hard for some guys to figure out how to play when they're not quite 100%. And he was figuring that out. And to his credit, he was working through a time where, you know, he was hurting out there. You know, he wasn't 100%. And that's just the process that some of the young players kind of go through. And he's on the other end of it. He's feeling really good. And I think we've seen him really ascend the last couple of weeks in terms of his play.
Hey, Coach. How important is it to go into the bye week or open date with a win and just going into it on the right foot?
Yeah, I mean, clearly, you know, we're playing at home. We've been really good at home. Our guys love playing in Tiger Stadium. You know, certainly all those things play a factor in, you know, our preparation and understanding. You know, home games mean a lot to our fan base and our community and our state. So our guys are going to be excited about playing the game. And, you know, we don't talk about winning as much as, you know, playing to our level and our standard. And we really haven't played 4 quarters of the kind of football we think we're capable of. So I think what's most important for us, more than anything else, is playing at home, playing in front of our fans and family, and playing 4 quarters and really playing that kind of football. And that's really what we've talked about more than anything else.
All right, speaking of playing at home, I saw when you were on the Feinbaum show the other day, you mentioned that there's some talk of legislation that would ban day games in September.
No, I was referring to that in the state of Arizona.
Just in the state, not here.
No, I was just referring that the state of Arizona has legislation in the state in the month of September that you can't play games before 6 o'clock, and I was merely throwing that out that this is not something that hasn't been discussed. Maybe that's a point that Scott could take up and have a discussion, but I was not saying that we have pending legislation or that we were moving towards it in any way. I've got a lot to do during the day, and one of them isn't going down to the state capitol in lobbying for legislation.
My misunderstanding. You do have a little bit of a political background, though. So
I do, but I got a lot to do right now. My hands are full.
Would you be in favor of that?
I certainly would. I mean, we saw what happened. I just need to see that happen once, right? That in a place like Tiger Stadium to have that kind of environment where it is just so difficult to sit and watch a game, it totally makes sense. And so, look, I get it, right? I mean, TV's involved, the conference is involved. There's a lot of things that you have to consider. We don't have to deal with it again this year, and I think the window is really small that we were going to have to deal with. But I would definitely throw my hat in the ring on supporting something like that.
Coach, on Saturday you talked very highly about Braden Swinson. We didn't get to speak with him, but just how have you seen him respond to the really good season he's had so far?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think what's been evident to me is just the way he has absorbed the teaching on a day-to-day basis from Coach Peoples. I mean, I think he's been a sponge. learning the techniques necessary for him to be an elite pass rusher is that he's using different techniques. I mean, he's attacking the ball. And when I say that, these are not selfish pass rushes. And what I mean by a selfish pass rush is that he's not like looking just to get the quarterback on the ground. He's looking to get the football out. And those are different type of pass rushes. So I just think his overall game has changed so dramatically in 1 year. And that's credit to how he's approached it, his mindset, and how he's being taught on a day-to-day basis. Go ahead. Go ahead. You're on a roll. I think, I mean,
Making up for lost time.
why not?
Yeah. J.K. Johnson getting more playing time now that he's coming off the injury last year. What have you seen in him? What has allowed him to become a bigger part of that corner rotation?
I think he's, first of all, as you know, he was injured, right? I mean, so he had battled some injuries. He's healthy. And I think that the maturity has a lot to do with him finding the right zone emotionally and not playing too high or too low. And sometimes that's just playing. And he hadn't played a lot of football. Quite frankly, I mean, he didn't play at Ohio State. He came here, he got injured. He hasn't played a lot of football. And so I think just finding that right zone for him to get into, and he's got some really good tools. And, Corey's working with him every single day, and we're seeing that development take place. It's just, unfortunately, it's been a little bit longer in developing because he had the injuries.
I guess on just a more broader note, what are you looking for as far as improvement from the secondary, your safeties, and your corners just in general?
Yeah, I think it's really simple. We want to leverage the football. If you're an inside leverage player, play with great inside leverage. If you're an outside leverage player, play with great outside leverage. And the same thing in tackling. We're not reinventing the wheel back there. We're not in multiple coverages. We want our guys to utilize their athletic ability and do it with great fundamentals. If we just play with better fundamentals, we're going to be better back there. And that's really been the focus this week. Good. Thank you. Have a good night.